What's up, you guys? AEW's final pay-per-view of the year is coming up. It's World's End from Chicago, Illinois, Saturday, December the 27th, and we're here to break it on down like a shotgun. These are the matches that are announced as of the eve of Christmas Eve, and I want to send a special shout-out to all of you, whatever holiday you celebrate, whether it's Hanukkah, Festivus, Kwanzaa, Christmas, whether you don't celebrate and you're a nostalgia nerd like me and you just want to enjoy all of the Christmas movies and the tree smells and the lights, go ahead and celebrate. And I'm sending a special shout out to all of you guys. Happy holidays. And if I don't hear from you, Happy New Year. But let's break down the card like a shotgun. These are the matches as of now that are announced. We've got Samoa Joe defending the AEW World Championship against Swerve Strickland, Hangman Adam Page, and MJF. Now, when I look at this match, I think there is definitely an opportunity for a title change. Because Samoa Joe just hasn't been looking... When you're a heel world champion, you have to have some sort of a purpose, right? And I feel like Samoa Joe is kind of caught between two characters right now. He is a world beater and always has been a badass, and he's got his crew, his dojo of guys that he's training to be badass, but he kind of comes out with this swagger like he's more of like a weasel, and he's not backing down though, but he's definitely less of a Don and more of a bourgeoisie, like laissez-faire type of a character, right? And so it's coming off like there's really just not a whole lot of motivation there. But I think there is more meat on the bone there for a Joe world title run. If you give it to MJF, I'm not going to be shocked about it, and I do think it's one of the right moves because you've kind of been screwing around with MJF in like the middle to the upper card for a long time, and the guy needs to be the top of the top running the company as a main eventer. I mean, the guy does movies now. He's in the public eye. He's multi-talented like Harley Cameron, where he can sing, and he did the musical segment with Chris Jericho and everything like that. The guy's got a whole lot of influence that you can tap into if you're in AEW, and from a marketing and branding perspective, forget about it. And if that's what they're trying to do by making him more endearing to the AEW fans and the audience, then I think that's a great way to go. So if you're going to go that way, you got to strap the rocket to him, but you got to give him a rogues gallery of enemies that are going to be coming from him, from the past, from the present, from the future, right? So MJF, I can see it. If you give it to Swerve or Hangman, if you give it to Hangman, for example, I really don't see the purpose in giving it back to Hangman if you lost it that soon. But if you're going to hot potato the title like that, giving it back to Hangman Adam Page, giving him a chance to have like a better third run than his first two runs, I'm okay with that. Swerve, I think it's a little too soon. I think we still need to establish a few things with Swerve before. He's got a lot of things that were left on the table when he left that need to be fleshed out a little bit more. He was starting to feud with the Death Riders a little bit. He had some backstage confrontation with MJF. He's still got some stuff going on with the Don Callis Corporation that are still looming around. I think there's a lot there. Ricochet, he's still got a feud with Ricochet going on. Whatever happened with him in the Hurt Business. So those are loose ends that could be tied up, but I don't believe that you need the AEW World Championship in order to do that. I think right now it's going to come down to Joe or MJF. I'm going to say Samoa Joe. Now, I'm probably going to be wrong, and they're probably going to give it to MJF, but I think, and hear me out here, if you give it to Joe, have him retain here, because Swerve Strickland and Hangman Page have like a argument or a bit of a difference here, and MJF tries to exploit, and then maybe Swerve hits him or something, and it causes Joe to get the pin. Whatever you want to do, it's definitely going to be an overbooked match. I can just imagine. So you have Joe retain. Now you've got a double main event at your hands. You've got Swerve and Hangman, and then you've also got Joe and MJF. And I think that could be built towards your March pay-per-view, because I don't believe that AEW is going to have another pay-per-view until March. So you have a lot of build-up there. And then so you can run tag matches where it's MJF and Swerve against Joe and Hangman, or Joe and MJF against Swerve and Hangman. You can run all of these different types of match, and those 4 can be trading matches between one another until you get to March and you have that big double main event. I think there's just a lot more that you can get out of Joe right now at the top of the card, and you probably won't get it without him having the world title. It makes sense for him to have the world title and be that champion. And if you utilize Hook as that little weasel that's getting involved, and Powerhouse Hobbs and Shibata playing that, distracting everyone, I think it really works out. So I'm going to go with Samoa Joe on that one. Chris Statlander against Jamie Hayter for the AEW Women's World Championship. I'm biased as all hell because I love Jamie Hayter. I think she's super talented. I've always wanted her to have a solid AEW World Women's Championship run in her. And I was really sad that they never got to finish the story that she had with Britt Baker, because I think it was being built up really well, and I think it would have been a really good story and a breakout moment for Jamie Hayter to really come into her own, because she was getting over at that time. And if you remember, Britt Baker, her DMD chants were, massive. But fans were really getting behind Jamie Hayter, and they really wanted her to go out and break out onto her own. So when it was done unceremoniously, it was kind of lackluster, right? So this is a chance for her to get built back up through that. However, I don't think that AEW has done a good job of really accentuating her path to that dominance and her path to getting that title back. And I'm sure they're going to have a video package on that. I think that's fair. But I just haven't been bought into the idea that they would have a change of guard and give Jamie Hayter this title win this soon into Chris Statlander's title run. So personally, if you ask me, I'm going to go with Jamie Hayter, but this is in the time-honored tradition of the business. I'm sure you've heard that before. I'm going to go with Chris Statlander to retain here, but I think it's going to be a great match. Babes of Wrath defend their AEW Women's World Tag Championships against Mercedes Moné and Athena. Well, Babes of Wrath better win. Shit. The first match back after they won the Women's Tag Championships, they got pinned in an 8-women tag. So, shit. They better win, right? I think what ends up really, what it comes down to is that the Babes of Wrath are going to win because Athena and Monet can't coexist as a tag team. And I think they're going to start to tear at the seams. And I think Athena can mention, you've won all of these titles, Monet, but you've never beaten me for mine. And I think that's going to be something that she could use. And I think a lot of crowd, that's a ooh moment if it's really done correctly. And Monet can say, you know what, you're right, and try and go after the women's world title in Ring of Honor. She may also have to give up her Ring of Honor. She doesn't have the television title. Red Velvet won the television title, so it wouldn't even be the television title. Yeah, she lost the television title, so her only motivation at this point now is to win a world championship. Maybe she can go on a world beater run where she wants to win world titles, and she wants to start with Athena. So I think that there's going to be some miscommunication between the two, and I think Babes of Wrath get the win there. In the Chicago Street Fight for the AEW World Tag Team Championships, the FTR meet the Bang Bang Gang. I would love to see the Bang Bang Gang win here, but I just don't see it happening because I think what they're building to is Cope and Christian. Probably at the beginning of 2026, maybe at World's End, we see it. I've been saying that since, I think, 3 pay-per-views ago, that we're going to see Cope and Christian make their triumphant return, but I do see that is in the cards. They had a dusty finish to lead to this match where it looked like Juice had won the match, but they rolled it back and they found out that he didn't. They lose the titles, or their opportunity at winning the titles was lost. So I think here you could possibly see Colton Gunn make his return. That's possible. Ace Austin could turn on the Bang Bang Gang. I could definitely see that. I think Ace Austin is phenomenal as a heel. I'd like to get him paired with Stokely Hathaway. I think that would be really good for him. But I don't know. That's kind of a stretch, You could also see the triumphant return of Jay White. Again, I would like to see Jay White turn on the Bang Bang Gang. Like, this isn't the Bang Bang Gang that I got involved with. My Bang Bang Gang is over here. This isn't the Bang Bang Gang. I can definitely see that. Or I can see Jay White coming back and then reuniting with Juice Robinson, because they were on a really good hot streak as a tag team. That'll really beef the tag team division back up. With all the tag teams that they have now, they can only use more. I mean, it would be good for their division. But as far as who's going to win, I'm going to go with FTR. Singles match, Darby Allin against Gabe Kidd. Don't know why this is going on, but I do know that Gabe Kidd was playing a role in the bullying of Darby Allin in lead up to AEW All In, when we thought back in the day that Darby Allin was going to challenge Jon Moxley at All In Texas before Hangman Adam Page took his spot. I like that Gabe Kidd is getting a chance at the AEW pay-per-view to shine and do his thing. I don't expect him to win. I think Darby Allin is going to take this. But there's a loose end here that they haven't tied up with Eddie Kingston and Gabe Kidd. That is the match that I thought we would have been seeing at this pay-per-view, especially considering that Darby Allin was in the hospital and injured and could not continue with the Continental Classic. And the last time we saw Eddie Kingston before he was injured, he was in a match with Gabe Kidd, and the injury happened during the match. So Gabe Kidd could have taken responsibility for that injury, and now you got a grudge match between those two. Now, I don't know if there's real heat between the two. That's something that AEW is really good about, is their privacy and their ability to keep rumors and innuendo from affecting their locker room or getting out to the press even. So maybe there is a beef between Kingston and Kidd, and that's why they're not, working together. But if they're all good, I don't know why they're not capitalizing on that match, because that's the match it should be. Darby Allin beats Gabe Kidd. Continental Classic semifinal, Konosuke Takeshita against Kazuchika Okada. This is going to be a tough one. What if it goes to a draw? Yeah, what if it goes to a draw? Do they both move on? Or does the other semifinal match become the final? That's an interesting question, but I'm not going to get into that. If I have to choose a winner, I'm going to choose Takeshita, because they've been building up that Okada was going to break that record in the G1 as winning all these round robin tournaments. And I think that it helps establish the feud more if Okada loses, because then he could snap, right? And I'll get into that later. But yeah, I think Okada loses here. And I think he then goes to Japan to challenge Takeshita for the IWGP World Championship. I think that's the story. So Takeshita wins because he's on his way out of the Don Callis compound already. So it's just going to take a few, and I think it's going to take this. I think he wins. I think he beats Okada, and Okada's shocked and pissed off. And Takeshita's going into the next round. We think he's going to win, and let's talk about it. Kyle Fletcher and Jon Moxley are in the semifinal here. And I am stuck on these two, because I really think that there's a case to be made for Jon Moxley winning here. I also think there's a case to be made for Kyle Fletcher. The case for Jon Moxley is that he does win, and we think he's on his road to the comeback, and then he loses. He loses because members of the Death Riders turn on him. And it could definitely happen in the semifinal. I mean, Pac can come out with Claudio and they could turn on him, leaving the young guys like Daniel Garcia and Willer Yuta and Marina shocked and not knowing what to do. That could definitely happen. Or it could happen in the final. But I think the real story of this G1 or CC2, I think the story of the Continental Classic is the Don Callis compound losing Konosuke Takeshita, and in his rise of fame, dealing with the egos of Fletcher and Okada. So I'm going to go with Fletcher getting the torch passed to him by Jon Moxley and beating Jon Moxley, Kyle Fletcher, moving on to wrestle Konosuke Takeshita, it's easy for you to say, in the finals of the Continental Classic. And I am going to say that you can't have any interference. Remember that. You can't have any interference in the Continental Classic. But I'm going to say somehow there is some sort of moment that breaks the rules. Whether it's Okada attacks Takeshita backstage and beats him really badly and hurts his ankle or hurts his knee or something like that. Something is going to happen. And what you're going to end up seeing is Takeshita wobble into the ring and try and fight, but Kyle Fletcher beats him. And Kyle Fletcher wins the Continental Classic. And now you've got a blood feud between Takeshita and Okada. Because Okada was pissed that Takeshita beat him, so he made sure he wouldn't win the Continental Classic. That's my thoughts on that. But what do you guys think is going to happen at World's End? Your thoughts, let me know in the comments section below. And if you're new around here, stay true around here. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications bell, because you never know when I'm dropping out of the portal of pro wrestling to drop you with some hotness. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to let me know what you think is going to happen at AEW World's End down below in the comments. Until next time, you guys, I'll see you in the next one.